Hello students, in physics we learn the chapter which is ongoing is some natural phenomena. We know about some of the natural phenomena like flood, storm, tsunami, etc. And we know that they have the bad effects on the human and other living organisms' life and damage to the properties also. In this chapter we are learning about the two phenomena that are the lightning and earthquake. In last session we learned about the lightning. So when there is a exchange or the passing of that charges between the cloud and the earth or between the different clouds. We saw that during the thunder the positive charge is gathering on the upper edges of the cloud and negative charge on the lower end. And when the raining there is a friction between them, and due to that the lightning are produced. And we saw that lightning can cause so many effects when it is exchanged between the cloud and the earth. In this situation, we saw that what can we do to protect ourselves? Because when sometimes a sudden lightning takes place, then if we are in the home, then we are safe. But if we are outside on the road or somewhere in the open place, then if you know some precautions to take, then you can save yourself from the bad effects. As we saw that we mustn't take shelter under the tall trees or some made in the low in the parks, etc., like the shades are there. Also we mustn't touch the electric pole and so many things. When you are in the house also, do not touch the wire that is coming inside, like the telephone wire or the electric wire. And you can use the mobile phone. Now there is a device that can protect the building also from the lightning, because there is a chance that if the lightning is falling on the building, then it can damage the building also. But you can use a device when you build your house or the apartments, and that is the device which is known as lightning conductor. Lightning conductor is a device which is used on the top of the building, and it protects the building, because when the lightning is falling, it will first fall on the lightning conductor and it will go directly to the ground without damaging the building. So up to some extent we can save our building from the lightning. So now what is that? As I told you, it is a device used to protect buildings from the effects of the lightning. Now, how does it look? How can we use it? So, it contains a metallic rod, and that rod must be taller than the building. Means its outer part must be in the air, and which is taller than our building. And that outer part kept in the air, and the other part of that rod is already remains in air the top of the building, and the major portion of that rod installed in the walls during construction. So when we are building the construction, our house, in that time, they have to already put that rod, which is connected with the copper wire, as shown in this figure here. You can see that it's a building here, and on the top of that building, you can see like that akar, that shape, like a trident shape also, or it can be of the two rods also. And the upper part is there in the air, and the other part is constructed, installed while the construction is going on, and that is connected with the copper wire, and that other part of the copper wire is connected with the piece of metal, and that is buried deep under the earth's crust. So now, as I told you, a portion of metal rod remains in air at the top of the building, and a major portion is installed in the walls during construction. The other end of the rod is connected to a copper plate placed deep into the soil. So that rod is going to with the copper plate, and that copper plate is buried deeply in the earth's crust. So what happens whenever the lightning is there, the charges will get a easier route to go into the earth directly without damaging building. The rod provides easy route for the transfer of electric charge to the ground without harming the building. So that charges, when they are transferring charges from cloud to the earth, and because it is very up in the air, first it will fall directly on that conductor, lightning conductor, and directly it will passing through that rod and to the copper plate and directly into the ground. And therefore, we will protect our building with that disaster by the lightning. We know that in our building, when we build it, that time also we use some metallic pipes, that metallic rods, and that are also helping in the saving of that by the disaster. But remember that during the thunderstorm and the lightning, whatever metallic things that are in your houses, you mustn't touch them, because maybe lightning is passing through it, and if you touch that, you can get shocked. So avoid to touch these metallic materials that are used in your building. So that is the precaution that we have to take. Then we can save the building and ourselves also from the bad effects of the lightning. So now we learn everything about the lightning, that how it happens, what can we do to protect ourselves, what we mustn't do when we are outside, and etc. Now we are going to learn about the other natural phenomena. We know that some of the phenomena like lightning, thunderstorms, flood, tsunami, storms, cyclones, etc., we can predict them. Mean the weather department also give alert, keep us alert that at some day there will be a flood or very heavy rain, or there can be a tsunami or the thunderstorm or the cyclone will come. Because the climatic conditions can be sure that we can get that natural phenomena. And therefore we have enough time to take steps so that we can save the buildings and the humans and all the living organisms also, like animals also. But this phenomena, earthquake is such a phenomena that we cannot predict yet. It cannot be predicted at all. So it will come all of a sudden, and we don't get time to take steps to protect ourselves. And also we know that it can cause life also. I mean the dangerous for the life also. It can cause damage to human life and property on a huge scale. Not all of the earthquakes are like that, but when it is very very high, on the high scale, then it can damage the human lives, all the animals also, and it can damage the properties also. And as I told you, we don't get time to save ourselves direct, means in advance. So if a thunderstorm occurs, there is always a possibility of lightning and cyclones accompanying it. So we get time to take measures to protect ourselves. But as I told you, that earthquake is such a phenomena that can cause large scale of destruction also, but we cannot predict it to it. So we know about the earthquake. A major earthquake occurred in India on 8th October 2005 in Uri and Tangdhar towns of North Kashmir. In Kashmir, in the region of Uri and Tangdhar towns, on the 8th October 2005, there was a big major earthquake. And before that, it was on 26th January 2001 in our Gujarat, in Bhuj district. These are the two examples of the damages caused by that earthquakes. Here there is a picture which shows that in the Kashmir what happened, and during the earthquake all the buildings are getting damaged like that, and so the people living in the building also, most of them get died. So that is the earthquake which cannot be predicted and very very harmful sometimes. So now, what is the earthquake actually? How does it goes, and what can we do to minimize its effects? So now, earthquake, if you have experienced it, then you will see that the earth is shaking all of a sudden. Sometimes you are sitting and somebody will shake your chair or the bed on which you are sitting. Then how do you feel? But now in that situation we know that somebody is there. But when there is nothing and all of a sudden it's shaking, that is the earthquake. So an earthquake is a sudden shaking or trembling of the earth which lasts for a very short time. it does not take much time for the shaking. It takes only a little time. So, as I told you, it is a sudden shaking or trembling of the earth which lasts for a very short time. And why it is caused? It is caused by a disturbance deep inside the earth's crust. So, very deep inside the earth's crust, there is some disturbance in the rocks, and therefore that disturbance causes the shaking of that rocks, and our earth is shaking, which we call the earthquake. Generally, every time in the world, somewhere and somewhere, there is a very small earthquakes are occurring. Every time. Maybe now also. But that earthquakes are very minor. So we cannot even notice the shaking of that earth. But when it is on a huge scale, then it can be then we will notice it. Right? Major earthquakes are much less frequent. Means not every time that major earthquakes are occurring. They are very frequent, but the small earthquakes occurring all the time in the world, all over the earth. Now, they can cause immense damage to buildings, bridges, dams and people. Because all these things, buildings, dams, bridges are built on the earth. So when earth is shaking, then that buildings are on the ground, and the bridges, the everything, they also can get damages. And because of that, the animals and the human life is also can get effect. There can be a great loss to life and property. Not only life but the property. Maybe sometimes the very strong buildings also can fall, like a palace made from the playing cards. When you make the palace by putting the cards, and if you blow a little air, it can fall down. In the same way, when the earthquake is on the major earthquakes occurs, then these buildings are also falling just like the cards, palace made up of the cards. It can also cause floods, landslides and tsunamis. A major tsunami occurred in the Indian Ocean on 26th December 2004. In the year 2004, December 26th, in our Indian Ocean, there was a big major tsunami occurred around the coastal areas of the ocean, and they suffered a huge losses. So that is the main thing about the earthquake. More about the earthquake, that what are the places which have high risk of the earthquake. What can we do to save ourselves in this situation? We will learn in the next session. So we are at the end of the session. Will be followed by PDF. And if any confusion, there is a comment section. Thank you very much.